Hey everybody, how's it going? Josh here, and today we're going to talk about how Ultron could return in Avengers Endgame. So, ever since Avengers Age of Ultron, people have been wondering how Ultron would return to the MCU, if that is a route they decide to go. And there's been a lot of theories posted out there. I saw one that was pretty popular about Ultron becoming the MCU version of Annihilus, and while I thought that was a creative idea, I don't really see them doing that. I just don't, but anyways, returning from death is a regular pattern of Ultron in the comics just because of his robotic form. It leads itself to him always getting a new form that he transfers his consciousness to, or he uploads himself to the internet, or something along the lines of that. So definitely death, as we know it, is something that Ultron can easily just circumvent because of his robotic AI type of background. But beyond Vision disconnecting Ultron from the internet, we didn't really get anything to give us closure on Ultron's death. The most we got was him ambiguously dying at the hands of Vision, but even then, the circumstances are kind of fishy, and I think Joss Whedon said somewhere during interview junkets that they intentionally left it that way, so if they wanted to, they could always come up with a very convoluted reason to bring him back. And Ultron's origin is very closely related to the founding of the Iron Legion, aka the Stark Drones. And the Iron Legion was a really interesting concept, really emphasized upon in Age of Ultron, which initially led by Jarvis and then later supposed to be led by Ultron, would have been the bouncer at the door, so to speak, as Tony says in Age of Ultron. And there's actually been concept art of the Iron Legion drones being used again, which presumably would be for Avengers Endgame, because when it came out, it was during the production of Infinity War and Endgame before we knew the respective names of the fourth Avengers movie. So a lot of people assumed that, oh, this will be brought up in Avengers Infinity War. You know, the Iron Legion will return in Infinity War. It makes a lot of sense with battling Thanos. And it never happened. Thus, it makes a lot of sense that maybe if we're getting a round 2, especially with recent reports that the Chitauri are going to come back and things like that, what better way to fight the Chitauri army unless you have your own army, right? So it makes a lot of sense that maybe Tony's going to bring back the Iron Legion to help fight against the Chitauri forces, this time to make it more of an even kind of battle versus a handful of Avengers versus hundreds of Chitauri plus Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. That on its own just definitely does not sound like a balanced seesaw. So getting back to the topic at hand, if time travel is actually introduced in this movie, like it's been rumored and speculated multiple times before and teased multiple times before in either set photos, casting, interviews, but if it's introduced, we may actually receive another Ultron, created by, let's say, a past version of Tony or a future version of Tony that's not necessarily evil, because really the biggest problem with Ultron was the Mind Stone's influence, which we'll get into in a different video this week. But definitely if Vision didn't kill him, it's possible that Vision used the Mind Stone to absorb Ultron in a sense. Because in various appearances of Vision using the Mind Stone in the MCU, when he shot energy out of it, it didn't glow to the extent that it glowed when he was quote-unquote killing Ultron. And you could even make the argument that that type of force was not at all necessary to kill Ultron, considering he was a single drone no longer connected to the internet. I mean, Vision could have easily just phased through him, and that could have been probably it. So, since Ultron was partially made of code from the Mind Stone, it's very possible the Mind Stone simply reclaimed that part of itself. Also, Wong in the Avengers Infinity War Prelude comic literally said that the Mind Stone was looking for a new host body, which was Ultron, and that was what Ultron was actually designing in Vision at the end of the day, was a new host body for the consciousness that was in the Mind Stone. If you don't believe me, you can check out the Infinity War Prelude comic. It's pretty cool. It doesn't really give any extra information away, but that little bit I found interesting in itself. But also the same way, considering the base consciousness of Vision came from Ultron, it may be a subconscious thing in Vision to quote-unquote protect Ultron. So maybe that absorbing of Ultron in this theory, in this scenario, is simply Vision's way of protecting his creator, according to, I guess, the boundaries of programming, the boundaries of his opinion on how to best do that, to both protect humanity and, I guess in essence, protect Ultron. Now, in this scenario also, it's possible that Vision will quote-unquote purify more hostile aspects of Ultron's programming, or Ultron, as part of the Mind Stone, was the part of the Mind Stone, maybe talking to Vision in Infinity War. Now, this part of the speculation, I don't really believe. I think this is more farther out there. I just thought it'd be worth mentioning, because why not? But with the rebirth of Vision, The process could be freeing Ultron as a part of that, which would be really interesting to see done if it's in Wakanda, if it's in Stark Tower, wherever it may be. Definitely, if Ultron returns, that'd be pretty interesting. I don't see any casting reports out there mentioning James Spader either being on set or being in a vocal booth or being seen in anything, and usually that type of thing would have been leaked by now. But comment below your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about this kind of thing? Comment below, and we'll see you guys later.